Hello, my name is Michelle Saikov, and I have scheduled a meeting with Dr. Vladimir Bekhterev, who was a Russian neurologist, psychologist, and physician. The purpose of this encounter is to learn more about an influential historical figure of the early 20th century.
Oh, hello, Michelle. Thank you for coming.
Good morning, Dr. Bekhterev. Thank you for allowing me to come over and ask you a few questions today.
Come on in and we can get right to work.
Dr. Bekhterev, could you please start off by telling me about your childhood and early life?
Yes, of course. I was born on January 20th of 1857 in the village of Saralai, which is now known as Kirov, Russia. My father, he was a Russian servant. He was a low-ranking government official who left my mother and all the children on her shoulders. But then he died a year later.
Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. Well, I don't want to jump the gun here, but I can't wait to hear about your educational advances and how you've become so successful.
Well, of course. At the age of 16, I entered Viktor Gymnasium, which was Russia's oldest educational institution. There, I successfully passed the admissions test to the Military Medical Academy, and I entered the Medical Academy of St. Petersburg. At the age of 21, I got my bachelor's degree in medicine. Then I joined the St. Petersburg Academy of Psychiatrists, and then I was back to school.
Wow, it really seems like you achieved everything you ever wanted, being so successful. Good job.
There was an innumerable amount of epoch-making events in my significant life, but I will only be able to share a few, or else we will have to sit here all day. In 1877, Russia was involved with war with the Ottoman Empire. As a big Russian patriot, I joined as a volunteer as an ambulance detachment. Even though Russia was running very low on Russian medics for the war, I was not a medic. I became the junior doctor at the Mental and Nervous Disease. In 1884, my supervisor, when I was a junior doctor, he arranged a trip for me into European countries so that I can learn more about European science and medicine. Over there, I had the privilege of working with Jean-Martin Charcot in Paris, France, who was the doctor that opened the first hospital for mental and illness diseases. When I returned back from my European trip, I was famous. Everybody knew me. Right away, I got a job at the Kirov University. Over there, I started psychology, psychiatry, teaching, and many other things.
Wow, that's very interesting.
Well, most of the time everything was going great, except with the Russian Revolution and the Stalinist regime, I lost my job. But then again, after the Russian Revolution of 1917, I got my profession teaching as a professor of neurology and psychiatry.
I see that you were greatly affected by the significant events in your life, but how did you affect the events in your life?
I had the opportunity to educate students on the diagnosis of nervous diseases. Then, I examined the structure of brain and inseparable attention to study brain pathways using various methods. I believe that specific zones of the cortex had specific functions, and that nervous and mental diseases were not significantly different. I diagnosed unknown brain formations and described new forms of spondylitis and other diseases. In 1891, I began the New Radical Society. the theory of conditional reflexes I developed the term reflexology first, but invented Pavlov took conditioned reflexology and turned it into his own. Therefore, I just want to say that I was the first to describe reflexology and objective psychology.
Wow, that's very interesting. I'm sure you have so much more to share, but we just have to move on with our interview.
Most of Russia's intellectuals knew my work from my publications. I have written over 800 publications, articles, and scientific work. I even founded the Neurological Vestnik in 1896, which was Russia's first journal on nervous diseases. In November of 1900, 2 volumes of Brain and Bone Marrow were nominated for Bear's Prize. I was awarded the prize in December of 1900. After that, between 1907 and 1910, I published a 3-volume book of objective psychology.
How impressive, Dr. Bekhterev. Now, with all of these accomplishments and significant events in your life, what were your thoughts about them?
With all of my success, I was on top of Russian society with all of the important and respected intellectuals. With Russian government systems changing, I did have troubled periods in my life, which I was unable to continue working and experimenting. But then there were times when I was restored again to higher positions, which finally made up for all the losses.
Well, that's a wrap then. Thank you for sharing the significant events in your life with me and how you were affected by them.
Well, of course, my child. It was my absolute pleasure. Thank you for your interest.
Dr. Vladimir Bechterev died on December 24th of 1927 after visiting Joseph Stalin, the communist leader. The cause of his death was after diagnosing paranoia in Joseph Stalin, and rumor has it that he has been food poisoned. Many of Russia's intellectuals were murdered because they were considered a threat to the Soviet nation.